describe the band? I think that's always a tough question. Very good. Power pop.
Pop with a lot of velocity.
Noisy but melodic. Kind of Sex Pistols meets ABBA, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's good.
Oh, yeah. The first time I decided to do music was when I was probably about 4 or 5 years old, and I was listening to some Bay City Rollers in my dad's Rover. He used to have a few old cassettes. He had some Bay City Rollers, Stylistics, and I really started getting into music. And I always used to look through all the sort of like closed catalogues, and they always used to have like a music page at the back and like pictures of drum kits and like kind of electric guitars and keyboards. And I saw a guitar and I thought that's what I want. I just sort of loved all those pop melodies. Lots of 70s rock bands like Led Zeppelin, Early Police, ELO, Queen, Black Sabbath, Duran Duran.
Yeah, I was really into Herbie Hancock. The guy I met at a music shop where I bought my first bass guitar, he introduced me to these soul, funk, jazzy things. And yeah, Herbie Hancock is my kind of hero. Yeah.
When you're working, trying to get a record deal, and you actually, you move away from home, you move into some scummy flat, you're getting unemployment benefit, and that's all you have to live on unless you've got some little part-time job. I mean, we did go without for a long time. It took us a long time to get signed.
So obviously, there wasn't much money around, but but at least we were doing something, that we believed in.
A goal, and you still homeschooled? I went to move on to work in a recording studio, then as a T-boy tape-op. It was a none too successful time, really. I thought that I should be being recorded instead of recording bands.
Before I came to London, yeah, I used to work at a bar in Tokyo where Japanese mafia, Yakuza used to come.
So what, do they still...
Yeah, if you do something wrong, you have
terrible.
to cut your finger off in front of them.
I've done a number of jobs. I've worked, with old people. I used to do a job called well, I suppose a visitor, really. I used to go around, take them shopping and sort of make sure they were still alive and everything. Then I worked in a recording studio. I worked at a garage, valeting cars and cleaning cars here for about 2 years. That was a horrible job. And then I was a push bike courier for 2 years. So I've done a few bits and bobs. A man of many talents.
I was into this soul, funky jazz music when I was at high school, but there was no one around to play this music, so I had to play heavy metal, dodgy pop music.
So you're basically still playing the same stuff?
Oh yeah, that's true.
We were in a band called Temper Temper, a kind of a rock band. Pretty bad band, actually, but
Was it?
I moved down to London to do sound engineering. I worked in the studio. John was working in the studio at the same time, and he moved down about 2 years after me, and then we formed this band, Fantaka Advertising in Luton.
There was a scene coming out of places like King's Cross, like the Splash Club, and there was a Camden scene, and we were kind of around a certain amount of bands like Skunk Anansie and Rub Ultra were around in those days. We never have wanted to be part of any scene. Like the two of us are Welsh. There's a Welsh scene. We're not part of that. We moved away from Wales such a long time ago, and then the Welsh scene happened when we moved away.
I know there was no scene in Wales at all. I mean, there was no musical scene there at all, and that's why I moved here, really. And then suddenly it happened. There was this big scene. Maybe maybe they were trying to tell us something. We gotta keep on believing. We'll and there's a few songs that are a little bit more kind of sad, melancholy, but oh God, it's an awful word to use, isn't it? I'm so sick of hearing that word. But you know, there is a darker side as well, but I think it's kind of that mix of happy and kind of darker stuff that makes it interesting as well.
Pray is all I can say. We've gotta keep it on. If only we could be free. Don't wanna be left alone.
I think anybody who writes music always feels a little bit kind of alone in some way. I tend to write about kind of relationships, like obsessions, insecurities, just kind of, you know, day-to-day observations as well. I suppose, it's, you know, it's almost like a diary, really. I can't explain why I write all the words, you know, that I write. They just come out. I know I'm a pretty miserable bastard. Yeah, maybe I should go and see a shrink or something.
It's time to get myself some therapy. How can I stop this? How can I stop this? How can I stop this disease? She's got a new dress on. Sits by your radio.
After Crash had got some radio play and Cement had got radio play, we felt like we were slightly on the ascendancy.
I mean, as soon as I wrote those first few chords for High, I just knew that it just had something, you know. It was a little bit of a sort of, you know, kind of see what happens kind of song, and it just took off.
Lying back on the floor, reaching up high into space. See myself in a glass. I'm counting the lines on my frame. Again, counting the lines on my face. I'm going out for a while, so I can get high with my friends. I will. I'm going out for a while. Don't wait up, 'cause I won't be home.
It's just a really good live number. It was our biggest single as well, so obviously people know it. It had, you know, had like the most radio play. So that's almost like a feeder kind of anthem now.
I'm going out for
To actually tour America, if you're a band from Britain, is any band's dream, you know. We started off a tour in a van, a tiny van and a trailer. That sorts them then out from the boys.
It was great fun, but that last like 2 or 3 weeks of the tour, it was just a little bit too much. You know, with 7 people like running around the bus with their underpants on their head and stuff, it can be difficult to get any sleep.
It was an eye-opener. I mean, I'd never thought that there'd be places in America that are worse than places in deepest Wales, you know, but there are. But we had a good time, didn't we?
We're queuing up the tills, wishing for our lives to change. Just a piece of something new, a taste would keep the same.
Grant is sometimes very indecisive.
I think I'm sensible, but I think I'm also insecure as well. I think it's kind of, you know, a bit of both really, depends on what day.
As a writer, there's a lot going on in the boy's head.
I think I'm very honest. Sometimes too honest, maybe.
He used to make me do runners from curry houses without paying.
I learned a lot from these guys.
All singers are crazy and wacky anyway, if you ask me. They are a certain species, you know, whereas the rest of us are all right, I think. quite difficult when we first met Taka because of his understanding of the English language was pretty limited. It takes a lot of guts to uproot yourself from a culture and come into a completely different world. We just got into each other's heads, and three people spend enough time together, they're going to start reading each other's minds sometimes. Once we get to Japan, I think he's going to be a bit of a star in his own right, you know.
We didn't spend hardly any money on the video. We just wanted to have a bit of fun, and they just said, let's shoot it in New York. We were staying at the famous Chelsea Hotel, and we actually shot the video in the room we were sleeping in.
Boundary sway in the wind on South Beach takes me back to better days. Summer rays, the Everglades, and June. My brain, my brain.
It is a fun song, and it's just a power pop song. I think it's kind of a very immediate track.
Drinking myself to sleep again. Nightmares spills to keep me sane. Drinking myself to sleep again. Insomnia. Flying high in golden skies, I'm flicking channels in my mind, finding my utopia, a different chapter in a book, thinking back to younger days as I escape in Cooper's break, takes me back to 84, the future's knocking at my door, my brain.
We're going back to America in August, so we've got a new album coming out. We're just going to keep on doing what we do, really. Touring, more recording, lots of hard work.
Drinking myself to sleep again, insomnia. Drinking myself to sleep again, nightmares pills to keep me.
We're going to be around for a while, so better get used to it.
Insomnia.